The night had settled gently over the world, not with thunder, not with storms, but with the kind of quiet that feels soft enough to touch. The moon hung high above the sleeping rooftops, casting silver light across winding streets and silent gardens. Most windows had already gone dark, and behind them people rested beneath warm blankets, drifting through dreams they would barely remember by morning. Far away, in a small apartment tucked above an old bookshop, a single lamp still glowed. Its warm golden light spilled across shelves filled with novels, journals, and maps of places that no longer appeared on modern charts. And beside that lamp sat Oliver. He wasn't reading, he wasn't writing. He was simply listening. Listening to the rain tapping softly against the glass. Listening to the quiet hum of the city settling into sleep. Listening to the space between sounds. Some nights felt different. This was one of them. Oliver couldn't explain why. The feeling wasn't unpleasant. It felt more like standing at the edge of a doorway, knowing something waited on the other side. Something important. Something gentle. The clock on the wall ticked steadily. 11:58, 11:59, midnight. And at that exact moment, a knock echoed below. Soft, slow, 3 quiet taps. Oliver blanked. Nobody visited at midnight, especially not during rain. Curious, he stood and made his way downstairs through the dark bookshop. The old wooden floor creaked beneath his feet. Rows of sleeping books surrounded him like silent guardians. The knock didn't come again. When he reached the door and opened it, the street outside stood completely empty. No footsteps, no umbrella, no visitor, only rain. And resting neatly on the welcome mat, an envelope. Its paper looked unusually old, cream-colored, smooth, almost glowing beneath the streetlight. Oliver picked it up carefully. There was no stamp, no return address, only his name, written in elegant silver ink. For Oliver, nothing else. A strange chill moved through him. Not fear, wonder. The kind of wonder children feel when they discover something hidden beneath a floorboard or tucked inside an ancient book. He locked the door and carried the envelope upstairs. The rain continued its gentle rhythm. The lamp still glowed warmly. For several moments he simply stared at the letter. Then, slowly, he broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The handwriting matched the silver words on the envelope. It read, "Dear Oliver, if this letter has found you, then the lighthouse still shines. A train will arrive tomorrow night. Board it. Bring nothing except your willingness to dream. The journey is longer than distance, and shorter than memory. When you arrive, follow the light. There is something waiting for you beyond the edge of ordinary sleep. With hope, the keeper." Oliver read the words twice, then 3 times. The message made little sense, yet somehow it felt familiar, like remembering a forgotten melody, or hearing a voice from childhood. Outside, the rain softened. The city seemed quieter than before. Even the clock appeared to tick more slowly. He folded the letter carefully. A sensible person would dismiss it, ignore it, throw it away. Yet deep inside, something whispered otherwise. For the first time in many years, Oliver felt curious about tomorrow. Not anxious, not rushed, simply curious. He placed the letter beside the lamp. Then he opened the window slightly. Cool night air drifted inside. The scent of rain filled the room. Somewhere far away, hidden beyond clouds and darkness, a train whistle echoed. Long, low, almost dreamlike. Oliver listened until the sound disappeared. Then he climbed into bed. The rain continued softly. The city slept. And as his eyes slowly closed, he thought about silver ink, distant trains, and a lighthouse waiting somewhere beyond the horizon. A place where dreams might not end when morning came. A place where forgotten stories still lived. A place waiting quietly in the darkness. For him. And as sleep finally arrived, gentle and warm, he dreamed of a distant light shining across a calm, endless sea. Morning arrived quietly. Not with alarms, not with urgency, but with pale sunlight slipping through curtains and settling gently across the floorboards. Oliver woke with an unusual feeling. For a moment, he couldn't remember why. Then he saw the letter, still resting beside the lamp. The silver ink shimmered faintly in the morning light, and suddenly everything from the night before returned. The mysterious envelope, the keeper, the lighthouse, The train.
Several minutes he simply sat on the edge of the bed, listening to the distant sounds of the city beginning its day. A delivery truck rumbled somewhere below. A bicycle bell chimed. A dog barked twice and fell silent again. Everything seemed ordinary. Yet beneath the ordinary world, another feeling lingered. A feeling that something was waiting. Something just beyond sight. The day passed more slowly than usual. Oliver opened the bookshop. Customers came and went. Books changed hands. Coins clinked into the register. Yet his thoughts continually drifted back to the letter. By afternoon, rain clouds gathered once more. By evening, the sky had become a deep blue-gray blanket, stretching endlessly overhead. As darkness settled, Oliver locked the shop. The city lights flickered awake one by one, windows glowed warmly, street lamps reflected across wet pavement, and somewhere in the distance, thunder murmured softly. The letter had said, "A train will arrive tomorrow night." That night had arrived. Oliver stood before the mirror and smiled nervously. He felt slightly foolish. After all, he didn't even know where he was supposed to go. Yet the strange certainty remained. So he grabbed his coat, locked the apartment, and stepped into the cool evening air. The city felt different at night. Quieter, softer, as though the world itself were preparing for sleep. Without fully understanding why, Oliver began walking toward the old railway station on the edge of town. The station had been abandoned for decades. Most people barely remembered it existed. Vines climbed the stone walls, rust covered the old tracks. The waiting benches stood empty beneath weathered wooden shelters. When Oliver arrived, he stopped. The station looked exactly as forgotten as he remembered. No lights, no passengers, no trains, only silence. For a moment, he considered turning around. Perhaps the letter had been a prank. Perhaps he had imagined the entire thing. Then he noticed something. A glow, far down the tracks. Tiny at first, almost invisible, but growing brighter and brighter and brighter. A distant whistle echoed through the night. Long, low, melodic, unlike any train Oliver had ever heard. The rails began humming softly. The air seemed to shimmer. Moonlight spilled across the tracks like liquid silver. Then, emerging from the darkness, came the train. Oliver stared in amazement. Its carriages gleamed like polished moonstone. Silver lanterns hung beside every window. Soft golden light glowed inside. The wheels made almost no sound. Instead, the train seemed to glide, floating effortlessly through the night. As it approached the platform, the whistle sang once more. Not loudly, not urgently, almost like an invitation. The train slowed, then stopped. The doors opened. Warm light spilled onto the empty station. Oliver looked around. There was still nobody else. No conductor, no passengers. Only him and the waiting train. A gentle breeze moved through the station. Somewhere above, clouds drifted aside. The full moon appeared. Its light bathed everything in silver. And for the briefest moment, Oliver thought he saw words glowing across the side of the train. The Midnight Express. Then they vanished. His heart beat slightly faster. Not from fear, from wonder. He climbed aboard. The door closed softly behind him. Inside, the carriage felt impossibly comfortable. Deep blue seats, golden lamps, wood polished to a mere shine. The air smelled faintly of cedar and old books. Every seat was empty, except one. Near the very back sat an elderly woman knitting a silver scarf. She smiled kindly as Oliver approached. "First journey?" she asked. Oliver nodded. The woman chuckled softly. "I remember my first journey." Before he could ask what she went, she returned to her knitting. The train began moving. Slowly at first, then faster and faster. Outside the window, the city lights drifted away. Buildings became silhouettes. Roads vanished. Soon only moonlit countryside remained. Rolling hills, sleeping forests, fields covered in silver mist. Everything appeared peaceful, dreamlike. The train continued deeper into the night. Hours seemed to pass, or perhaps only minutes. Time felt different here. At one point, Oliver glanced out the window and saw something extraordinary. The stars. Not above, beside him. Thousands of them. Drifting outside the train like glowing lanterns, as though the railway itself traveled through the sky. The elderly woman looked up from her knitting. "Beautiful, aren't they?" Oliver nodded. "Where are we?" She smiled.
closer than yesterday. Then she returned to her scarf. The answer somehow felt complete. The train continued onward. Moonlight poured across the windows. The rhythmic movement of
Carriage became soothing, almost hypnotic. Sleep tugged gently at Oliver's thoughts. His eyelids grew heavier. The soft hum of the rails sounded distant now, like waves on a peaceful shore. He leaned back in his seat. Outside, silver clouds drifted slowly past. Inside, the golden lamps glowed warmly. And somewhere ahead, hidden beyond darkness and moonlight, a lighthouse waited, its light shining patiently across an endless sea, waiting, guiding, calling him forward. The journey had begun, and somewhere beyond the next horizon, a forgotten village slept beneath the stars, a village untouched by time, a village where dreams were treated as treasures, a village Oliver would soon discover. As the train carried him deeper into the moonlit night, his eyes slowly closed, and for the first time, he slept while traveling through a dream. The train moved silently through the moonlit darkness. Its silver wheels hummed softly beneath the carriage, not loudly, not sharply, but with the gentle rhythm of distant waves meeting a quiet shore. Oliver slept peacefully, the kind of sleep that feels deeper than ordinary rest, the kind where worries loosen their grip, the kind where dreams arrive like old friends. Outside the window, stars drifted alongside the train. Some sparkled brightly. Others glowed softly like tiny lanterns floating through endless night. Hours passed, or perhaps moments. Time no longer seemed interested in keeping count. Then, somewhere far ahead, a bell rang. A single note, clear, warm, gentle. Oliver slowly opened his eyes. The carriage was empty. The elderly woman was gone. Her seat sat quietly beneath the golden lamp. Only a neatly folded silver thread remained on the cushion where she had been sitting. Oliver looked around. The train seemed even quieter now, almost as though it were holding its breath. Another bell echoed through the carriage. Then a soft voice emerged from hidden speakers. Next stop? A pause followed. Then, Moon Hollow Village. The words seemed to float through the air. Moon Hollow. The name felt strangely familiar, like something remembered from childhood, or a dream long forgotten. Oliver stood and walked toward the window. His breath caught. The landscape outside had changed completely. The endless countryside had vanished. Now towering cliffs stretched along the horizon. Silver mist rolled gently across valleys below. Moonlight painted every hill in soft blue light. And nestled between forests and sea cliffs sat a village. Tiny golden lights glowed from windows. Smoke curled lazily from stone chimneys. Narrow cobblestone streets wound between cozy cottages. Everything looked peaceful, timeless, as though the village belonged to another century, or another world entirely. The train began slowing. Its whistle sang one long, beautiful note. Ahead, a small station emerged from the mist. Warm lanterns illuminated the platform. Flowers bloomed in wooden boxes beneath every window. A sign stood beside the tracks, Moon Hollow Village. The train stopped. The doors opened. Cool sea air drifted inside, carrying scents of pine trees, salt water, and something else, something warm, fresh bread. Oliver stepped onto the platform. The moment his feet touched the ground, the train whistle sounded once more. When he turned around, the silver train was already moving, gliding back into the darkness. Within moments, it disappeared completely, as though it had never existed. Only silence remained. The station itself seemed to sleep. A single lantern swayed gently above the entrance. Its golden glow danced across weathered wooden beams. Beyond the station stretched the village, small, peaceful, beautiful, and strangely untouched by time. Oliver followed a winding stone path toward the heart of Moon Hollow. His footsteps echoed softly. The village seemed alive in its own quiet way. A cat slept peacefully on a windowsill. Wind chimes sang gently beneath a porch roof. Flower gardens overflowed with moonlit blossoms. Every home looked welcoming, warm, safe. Yet something felt different here. The air itself seemed calmer, as though the village existed outside the noise of the world. Near the center of town stood a fountain. Crystal clear water flowed endlessly from a stone moon carved into its center. Around the fountain sat wooden benches, empty, waiting. Oliver paused. The water sparkled beneath the stars, and as he watched, he noticed something impossible. Images moved inside the fountain, not reflections, memories. For a brief moment, he saw a young girl laughing, then an elderly man reading beneath a tree, then a mother singing softly to a child. The images appeared and vanished like ripples. Oliver blinked. The fountain returned to normal. Only water remained. A voice spoke behind him.
You saw them?
Didn't you? Oliver turned. Standing beside the fountain was an old man wearing a dark blue coat. His silver beard reached almost to his chest. Kind eyes sparkled beneath thick eyebrows. He carried an old lantern that glowed with warm golden light. The old man smiled. Most visitors do. Oliver hesitated. The fountain? The old man nodded. The fountain of quiet memories. He sat on a nearby bench. The village keeps them safe. Oliver slowly sat beside him. The memories? Yes. The old man looked toward the stars. Dreams, memories, wishes, hopes. He smiled softly. Things the world tends to forget. A comfortable silence followed. The fountain continued flowing. Wind moved gently through nearby trees. Far away, waves crashed softly against unseen cliffs. Finally, the old man spoke again. You've come for the lighthouse. It wasn't a question. Oliver nodded. The old man smiled slightly. I thought so. He lifted his lantern. Golden light reflected in the fountain. The keeper has been expecting you. Oliver felt a chill of wonder. The keeper is real? The old man laughed quietly. Very real. Then he stood. The lighthouse stands beyond the sea cliffs. He pointed toward the distant horizon. At first, Oliver saw only darkness. Then, a light, tiny, far away, a steady golden glow shining across the sea. The lighthouse. Even from this distance, it felt comforting, like a promise waiting patiently in the night. The path begins tomorrow, the old man said. For now, rest. He pointed toward a cozy cottage near the edge of the square. Warm light glowed behind its curtains. Smoke drifted lazily from the chimney. The innkeeper has prepared a room. Oliver looked surprised. Prepared? The old man smiled knowingly. Moon Hollow rarely receives unexpected guests. Before Oliver could ask another question, the old man began walking away. His lantern swayed gently beside him. After several steps, he paused. Without turning around, he said, Sleep well tonight. The lighthouse only reveals itself to those who have truly rested. Then he continued down the cobblestone street, soon disappearing into the silver mist. Oliver sat quietly beside the fountain, listening. The village seemed wrapped in peaceful stillness, the kind of stillness that settles deep within the heart. Above him, countless stars shimmered. Ahead, far beyond the cliffs, the lighthouse glowed patiently, its beams sweeping slowly across the dark sea, waiting, watching, guiding. Tomorrow, the journey would continue. Tomorrow, he would begin the path toward the keeper. Tomorrow, he would learn why the letter had found him. But tonight, Moon Hollow offered only rest. And so, beneath the watchful stars, Oliver rose and made his way toward the cozy inn, where a warm bed, a quiet room, and perhaps a few new dreams awaited him. The lighthouse still shone beyond the horizon, and somewhere within its ancient walls, a story far older than Oliver could imagine was beginning to awaken.
The inn was quieter than any place Oliver had ever known. Not empty, not abandoned, simply peaceful, as though every wall, every wooden beam, every softly glowing lantern understood the importance of rest. The sign above the door read, The Moonlit Hearth. Its painted letters shimmered faintly beneath the starlight. Oliver pushed open the door. A small brass bell chimed overhead. Warmth immediately greeted him. A fire crackled gently inside a stone fireplace. The scent of cinnamon, cedarwood, and fresh bread drifted through the room. Everything felt welcoming, comfortable, safe. Behind a polished wooden counter stood a woman with silver hair gathered into a long braid. She looked up from a book and smiled. Not the smile of someone greeting a stranger, the smile of someone greeting a friend she had been expecting. You must be Oliver. Her voice carried the softness of falling snow. Oliver paused. You know my name? The woman chuckled. Most people who arrive on the Midnight Express are expected. She closed her book carefully. The room is ready. Oliver was beginning to notice a pattern. Nobody seemed surprised by his arrival. Nobody asked questions. Nobody demanded explanations. It was as though the village had quietly known he would come. The woman handed him a small brass key. Attached to it hung a tiny moon-shaped charm. Room 7. Thank you. She nodded kindly. And Oliver? He looked up. When you dream tonight, don't be afraid.
Oliver blinked. Before he could ask what she meant, she returned to her book. The conversation seemed finished. The inn creaked softly around him. The fire crackled. Somewhere upstairs, a clock ticked slowly. He climbed the staircase. Room 7 waited at the end of a narrow hallway. The door opened easily. The room beyond was simple, yet beautiful. A large bed stood beside a window overlooking the sea. Moonlight spilled across white blankets. A small lantern glowed beside an old wooden chair. Fresh lavender rested in a vase on the windowsill. Outside, distant waves rolled against unseen cliffs. The sound felt soothing, almost hypnotic. Oliver set the brass key on the bedside table. Then he crossed the room and looked out the window. Far away, beyond the cliffs, beyond the silver mist, the lighthouse shone. Its golden beam moved slowly across the ocean, back and forth, steady, patient, like a heartbeat. For several minutes, Oliver simply watched. Something about the light felt familiar, deeply familiar, yet he couldn't understand why. Finally, exhaustion settled over him. The long journey, the strange village, the endless wonder of the day, all of it seemed to pull gently at his eyelids. He climbed into bed. The mattress felt impossibly comfortable, the blankets warm. Outside, waves whispered against the shore. The lighthouse continued its slow watch, and before long, sleep arrived. Softly, effortlessly, like drifting into calm water. Oliver found himself standing in a field. Silver grass stretched endlessly in every direction. Above him hung a sky filled with stars, not thousands, millions, brighter than any stars he had ever seen. The air felt cool, gentle, peaceful. Somewhere nearby, Wind Chang sang softly. He began walking. The grass swayed around his legs. Each step felt lighter than the last. Soon he noticed something ahead, a figure, standing alone beneath the stars. An old man, tall, wearing a dark coat that seemed woven from moonlight itself. His silver hair moved gently in the breeze, and in his hand he carried a lantern. The lantern's glow felt strangely familiar. The old man smiled. "Welcome, Oliver." The voice instantly sent warmth through him, not because he recognized it, because somehow he trusted it. "Are you the keeper?" Oliver asked. The old man nodded. "I am." The answer felt simple, natural, as though there could be no other. The keeper gestured toward the horizon. There, far beyond the silver field, stood the lighthouse, towering, ancient, its golden light reaching into the heavens. Even in the dream, it felt magnificent. "What is this place?" Oliver whispered. The keeper looked upward, the space between waking and dreaming. Oliver frowned slightly. The keeper smiled. "A place most people visit. Few remember." The stars above them shimmered. The field glowed softly. Everything seemed suspended in perfect stillness. Then the keeper's expression became thoughtful. "The world has changed." His voice remained gentle. "But it has changed. People sleep less. They dream less. They listen less." The lantern in his hand flickered softly. "And because of that, something important is being forgotten."
Oliver listened carefully. The keeper looked toward the lighthouse. Long ago, dreams were treasured. They were not distractions. They were not accidents. They were bridges. The wind moved through the silver grass, creating soft waves that rolled toward the horizon. "Bridges to what?" Oliver asked. The keeper smiled. "To wonder." For a moment, neither spoke. The answer somehow felt larger than words. The keeper stepped closer. His lantern illuminated the grass around them. Every dream carries a small light, a hope, a memory, a possibility. When enough dreams disappear, the keeper's smile faded slightly. The world grows dimmer. Oliver looked toward the lighthouse again. Its golden beam swept across the darkness. Steady, faithful, protective. "The lighthouse keeps them safe," he said. The keeper nodded. "Exactly." The old man's eyes sparkled. "And that is why you are here." Oliver felt his heartbeat quicken. "Me?" The keeper nodded once more. The silver field grew brighter around them. Stars drifted lower, closer, as though listening. "You've spent years helping people find stories," the keeper said softly. "Books, adventures, dreams. You have protected wonder without realizing it." The words settled gently into the night. Oliver felt something shift inside him. Not fear, not confusion, recognition, as though part of him had always known. The keeper raised his lantern. The golden light expanded, warm, comforting, endless. Tomorrow, Oliver would begin the path to the lighthouse itself. Tomorrow, he would learn what waited inside. Tomorrow, he would discover why the letter had chosen him. But tonight, only one lesson mattered. The keeper smiled kindly and said, "Rest." The stars brightened.
The silver field softened. The lighthouse beam washed gently across the dream, and slowly, very slowly, the world dissolved into golden light, as though sleep itself were wrapping a blanket around the night. And far away, beyond the cliffs, beyond the sea, beyond ordinary dreams, the lighthouse continued to shine, waiting, watching, remembering, for there were secrets hidden within its ancient walls, secrets older than memory itself, and soon Oliver would finally step through its door. Morning arrived slowly in Moon Hollow, not with alarms, not with hurried footsteps, but with the soft cry of distant seabirds and golden sunlight spilling gently across the sea. Oliver opened his eyes. For a few moments he remained perfectly still, listening. The waves, the wind, the quiet creak of the old end settling into a new day. Everything felt peaceful, yet something had changed. The dream, the keeper, the silver field beneath the stars. It all felt more real than many of his waking memories, as though part of him had truly been there. Outside his window, the lighthouse still stood beyond the cliffs. Its golden light had faded with dawn, but its silhouette remained visible against the pale horizon, waiting, patient as ever. Oliver dressed and made his way downstairs. The inn smelled of warm bread and fresh tea. Sunlight streamed through the windows. The silver-haired innkeeper stood beside the fireplace arranging flowers. She smiled when she saw him. "You slept well." It wasn't a question. Oliver nodded. "I met the keeper." The woman showed no surprise, only a gentle smile. "Many travelers do." She placed a small cloth bundle on the table. "For your journey." Inside, he found fresh bread, fruit, and a tiny glass bottle filled with clear water. "The path to the lighthouse is longer than it appears." Oliver accepted the bundle gratefully. "Thank you." The woman touched the moon-shaped charm hanging from his room key. "Follow the shoreline. He'll be waiting." Again, she offered no explanation, and somehow none seemed necessary. A short while later, Oliver left the village. The cobblestone streets slowly disappeared behind him. The path wound through rolling hills covered in silver-green grass. Wildflowers danced in the breeze. Butterflies drifted lazily between blossoms. Above, clouds floated across an endless blue sky. The world felt calm, unhurried, as though time itself moved differently here. The further he walked, the louder the ocean became. Soon the cliffs opened before him, and below, stretching endlessly along the coast, lay a beach unlike any he had ever seen. Its sand shimmered faintly beneath the sunlight. Not gold, not white, silver. Millions of tiny silver grains sparkled beside the sea. Oliver descended a narrow path carved into the cliffside. As his feet touched the beach, a strange feeling settled over him. Warmth, recognition, peace. The waves rolled gently ashore, each one whispering softly before retreating once more. The air smelled of salt and sunlight. Everything felt impossibly
serene. Then Oliver noticed something unusual. Scattered across the sand were hundreds of objects. Not shells, not driftwood, objects. A worn teddy bear, a faded photograph, a music box, a child's drawing, an old compass, a handwritten letter. Countless treasures lay scattered along the shore, as though the sea had carefully delivered them. Oliver picked up a small photograph. It showed a young boy holding a kite. Both were smiling. The image seemed ordinary, yet the moment he touched it, a memory flooded through him. Not his memory, someone else's. A summer afternoon, warm sunshine, laughter, the smell of freshly cut grass. The memory lasted only a second, then it vanished. Oliver lowered the photograph slowly, his heart beat faster. The memory had felt real, completely real. "You felt it." The voice came from nearby. Oliver turned. An elderly woman sat upon a smooth stone overlooking the sea. Her long gray hair moved gently in the breeze. Beside her rested a basket filled with collected objects. She smiled warmly. "The memories." Oliver nodded. "The photograph." The woman patted the stone beside her. "Sit." Oliver joined her. Together they watched the waves. For several moments neither spoke. The silence felt comfortable. Then the woman gestured toward the beach. "This place is called the Shore of Remembering. The sea brings things here." Oliver glanced at the scattered treasures. "From where?" The woman smiled. "From dreams." The answer felt impossible, yet somehow right. Every object carries a memory. She picked up a small silver locket from her basket. Some belonged to people who forgot. Some belonged to people who grew older. Some belonged to dreams that were never finished. The ocean sparkled beneath the sun. The woman opened the locket. Inside rested a tiny painting of a moonlit garden. "A little girl dreamed of becoming an artist," the woman said softly. She forgot. Her fingers gently closed the locket, but the dream remembered.
Oliver stared at the sea. Waves continued arriving, bringing stories, bringing memories, bringing pieces of forgotten wonder. The woman looked toward the distant lighthouse. Its tower rose above the cliffs far ahead. The keeper protects them. The memories, the dreams, the hopes people leave behind. Oliver thought of the dream he had shared with the keeper. The silver field, the stars, the lantern, the old man's words. Dreams are bridges to wonder. For the first time, Oliver truly understood. The world moved quickly. People rushed, people worried, people forgot. Forgot dreams, forgot stories, forgot wonder. Yet somehow the lighthouse gathered those forgotten pieces, keeping them safe, waiting for someone to remember. A sudden glimmer caught Oliver's eye. Something small rested near the waterline, half buried in silver sand. Curious, he walked toward it. The object was an old wooden toy boat. Its paint had faded long ago. Carefully, Oliver lifted it from the sand. The moment his fingers touched the wood, another memory appeared. This one stronger, clearer. A young boy sat beside a river, launching the tiny boat into the water, watching it drift away, dreaming of distant oceans, adventure, discovery, possibility. The memory faded slowly, leaving behind a strange ache. Not sadness, longing. The longing every person feels when remembering something beautiful, something once loved. Oliver stared at the toy boat, then toward the horizon, toward the lighthouse. Somewhere inside its ancient walls, countless dreams waited. Countless memories, countless forgotten pieces of wonder. The journey suddenly felt larger than before. Not a mystery, not an adventure, a responsibility. The elderly woman rose from the stone. The tide will turn soon, she smiled kindly. And so will your journey. Oliver looked up. The lighthouse? The woman nodded. The path begins beyond the northern cliffs. She pointed farther along the shore. There you'll find the stair of tides. The keeper is waiting. A warm breeze moved across the beach. The waves sparkled. The lighthouse stood silently against the sky, watching, guiding, calling. Oliver slipped the tiny wooden boat into his pocket. The woman noticed. Her smile widened. Good. Some memories choose their travelers. Then she lifted her basket and began walking slowly down the shoreline. Before long, her figure blended into the sunlight and sea mist. Oliver stood alone beside the ocean. The silver beach stretched endlessly behind him. Ahead, beyond the northern cliffs, the next stage of the journey awaited. The stair of tides, the path to the lighthouse, the path to the keeper, and perhaps the path toward a forgotten part of himself. The waves rolled gently ashore.
The sea whispered ancient secrets, and high above the coastline, the lighthouse waited beneath the endless sky, patient, steady, as though it had been waiting for this very moment all along. The sea breeze followed Oliver as he continued north along the silver shoreline. Behind him, the shore of remembering slowly disappeared into the morning mist. Ahead, the cliffs rose higher, steeper, older, as though they had stood watch over the ocean since the beginning of time. The lighthouse remained visible on the horizon. Its pale stone tower stretched toward the clouds. Every step seemed to bring it closer, yet somehow it never appeared much larger, like a destination existing partly in the world and partly somewhere beyond it. The wooden toy boat rested safely inside Oliver's coat pocket. From time to time he touched it. Each touch brought a faint feeling of warmth, a reminder of the forgotten dream it carried. The dream of adventure, the dream of possibility, the dream of becoming something more. The path gradually narrowed. Wildflowers gave way to weathered stone. The cries of seabirds echoed from distant cliffs, and below, the endless ocean rolled against the shoreline in slow, rhythmic waves. Then Oliver saw them, the stairs, carved directly into the cliffside, hundreds of ancient stone steps descending toward the sea, each one worn smooth by countless years. The stair of tides, exactly as the woman had described. The staircase seemed impossibly old. Moss grew between the stones. Silver flowers bloomed along the edges. At the very bottom stood an archway, half hidden beneath the cliffs. Its entrance shimmered faintly in the sunlight. Oliver paused. A strange excitement stirred inside him, the feeling one experiences before opening the first page of a beloved book or stepping through a doorway into the unknown. He began descending. The stairs curved downward slowly. The ocean grew louder. Cool mist drifted upward from the waves. The world above gradually disappeared. Soon only the sea and stone remained. Step after step, downward, deeper, until finally he reached the archway. Ancient symbols covered the stone. Moons, stars, lanterns, open books. The carvings seemed familiar, as though they belonged to stories he had once known. The moment Oliver stepped beneath the archway, the air changed. Warmer,
stiller. The sound of the ocean softened. Ahead stretched a tunnel illuminated by glowing lanterns. Golden light reflected from smooth stone walls. The passage curved gently into darkness. Oliver followed. His footsteps echoed softly. The tunnel seemed endless, yet strangely comforting. Not frightening, not threatening, almost welcoming. Then the passage opened, and Oliver stopped, speechless. Before him stood a library unlike anything he had ever imagined. It stretched farther than he could see. Towering shelves rose toward a ceiling hidden in darkness. Millions of books filled endless rows. Golden lanterns floated gently through the air. Their warm light illuminated ancient wood and polished stone. Spiral staircases connected distant levels. Bridges crossed vast open spaces overhead. Everything glowed softly, peacefully, magically. The Library of Lost Dreams. Oliver somehow knew its name before anyone spoke it. The realization settled quietly into his heart. Every book here felt important, alive, sacred. A soft voice emerged nearby. "Welcome." Oliver turned. The keeper stood beside one of the shelves. His silver lantern glowed warmly. The old man's eyes sparkled with kindness. "You found your way." Oliver smiled. "I think the path wanted me to." The keeper laughed softly. Perhaps it did. Together they walked between towering shelves. Books surrounded them in every direction. Some appeared ancient, others looked brand new. Some were bound in leather, others in silver cloth. A few seemed to glow faintly from within. "What is this place?" Oliver asked. The keeper ran his hand gently across a shelf. "A library," he smiled, "but not the kind you're familiar with." Oliver looked around. The books felt different, almost as though they were breathing, waiting, watching. The keeper selected a volume bound in deep blue leather. Carefully he opened it. Golden light spilled from the pages, and suddenly Oliver saw something. A young woman standing on a stage, playing a violin. Her eyes closed, her smile radiant. The scene moved like a living memory. Music filled the air. Then the vision faded. The keeper returned it to the shelf. "What was that?" "A dream," the keeper answered. "A dream she once carried." Oliver stared. "The books are dreams?" The keeper nodded. "Every dream leaves a story. Every hope leaves a trace. When people forget them."
His eyes moved across the endless shelves. "We remember." Silence followed. The library felt vast beyond comprehension. Millions of stories, millions of dreams, each waiting patiently. The keeper led Oliver deeper. As they walked, Oliver noticed strange titles. "The Garden I Never Built," "The Song I Almost Wrote," "The Journey I Was Afraid to Begin," "The Friend I Never Met," "The House Beside the Stars." Every title felt personal, emotional, human. The dreams of ordinary lives. The dreams people carried quietly within themselves. Some fulfilled, some abandoned, some merely forgotten. The keeper stopped before a narrow shelf. Unlike the others, this section contained only a handful of books. Each glowed more brightly than the rest. "What are these?" Oliver asked. The old man smiled. "Dreams that changed the world." Oliver studied the titles. Some were familiar. Most were not. Yet each radiated warmth, hope, possibility. The keeper gently removed one volume. Its cover shimmered silver. This dream belonged to a young teacher. He opened the book. Golden light appeared once more. Oliver saw a classroom. Children laughing, learning, growing. The teacher smiled as she spoke. The vision felt simple, yet beautiful. The keeper closed the book. Not all important dreams are grand. His voice remained gentle. Many of the most powerful are small. The words echoed softly through the library. Oliver thought about the toy boat in his pocket, the forgotten dream of adventure, the little boy beside the river. How easily such dreams could disappear. How easily wonder could fade. The keeper looked toward him, as though sensing his thoughts. That is why the lighthouse exists. He lifted the lantern slightly. Its golden glow brightened. The world needs dreamers. It always has. The floating lanterns overhead drifted lazily through the darkness. The library seemed endless, timeless. A sanctuary built not from stone, but from hope itself. Then something caught Oliver's eye. At the far end of the aisle stood a single book. Unlike the others, its cover shone brighter than any nearby volume. Soft silver light pulsed from its pages. The moment Oliver saw it, a strange feeling moved through him. Recognition. The keeper noticed and smiled.
His voice grew softer. "It seems your book has found you." Oliver stared. "My book?" The keeper nodded. The lantern glow reflected in his eyes. "Every traveler eventually discovers one." Slowly, very slowly, Oliver stepped toward the shining volume. Its silver light danced across the shelves, waiting, calling, inviting. Somewhere inside those pages lay a story, a forgotten story, a dream, perhaps even his own. And as his fingers reached toward the glowing cover, the entire library seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next chapter to begin. The silver book rested quietly upon its shelf, yet the moment Oliver stood before it, the entire library seemed different. The floating lanterns drifted more slowly. The air felt warmer. The distant shelves appeared softer around the edges, almost dreamlike, as though the library itself had recognized him. The glowing cover shimmered gently. Silver light flowed across its surface, like moonlight dancing on calm water. No title appeared, no author, no markings of any kind, only light, pure and silent. Oliver hesitated, then carefully reached forward. The instant his fingers touched the cover, a deep chime echoed throughout the library. Not loud, not alarming, beautiful, ancient. The sound rolled across the endless shelves like a wave of golden music. The floating lanterns brightened. The floor beneath Oliver's feet vibrated softly. And somewhere far below, something awoken. The keeper smiled. "There it is." Oliver looked at him. "What happened?" The old man lifted his lantern. "The library remembers." The silver book slowly opened by itself. Its pages turned gently, one after another. No wind touched them, no hands moved them, yet they continued turning, until finally they stopped. A single page remained open. At its center glowed a symbol, a clock, simple, elegant. Its hands moved in a slow, steady rhythm. Tick, tick, tick. The sound grew louder, not harsh, not mechanical, organic, alive, like a heartbeat. Oliver stared. The symbol brightened. Golden light spilled across the floor. The bookshelves trembled softly, and directly before them, a hidden doorway appeared. Stone steps spiraled downward into darkness. Warm light glowed somewhere below. The keeper nodded. "It wishes to show you." Oliver looked toward the staircase. A strange excitement filled him, mixed with calm curiosity, the kind of feeling one experiences before uncovering a long-forgotten secret. The keeper gestured gently. "Come." Together they descended.
Staircase curved downward for what felt like a very long time. The library slowly faded above them. The air grew warmer, the golden light brighter. With each step, the rhythmic ticking became clearer, steadier, more familiar. Tick, tick, tick. Heartbeat, heartbeat, heartbeat. At last, the staircase ended. Oliver stepped into a vast circular chamber and stopped completely. The room was enormous, far larger than seemed possible beneath the lighthouse. Its ceiling disappeared into darkness high above. Golden gears turned silently along ancient stone walls. Thousands of glowing pendulums swung in perfect harmony. Silver pathways crossed the chamber like rivers of light. And at its very center stood a clock unlike anything Oliver had ever imagined. It towered hundreds of feet into the air. Its face glowed softly with golden light. Stars moved within its glass surface. Clouds drifted behind its hands. Tiny galaxies seemed to swirl inside its mechanism. The entire structure felt alive, breathing, dreaming. The ticking echoed throughout the chamber, steady, comforting, like the heartbeat of the world itself. Oliver could only whisper, "It's beautiful." The keeper's eyes reflected the golden glow. Yes. For several moments, neither spoke. The giant clock continued its slow movement. Its gears turned with impossible grace. Not a single sound felt rushed. Everything moved exactly as it should. Oliver noticed something unusual. Small streams of light drifted into the clock from every direction. Millions of tiny glowing particles.
Each one floated gently through the air before disappearing into the mechanism. What are those? The keeper followed his gaze. Dreams. Oliver blinked. The old man nodded. Every night? Everywhere. People dream. The streams of light continued flowing, some bright, some faint, some golden, some silver, all moving toward the giant clock. The dreams power it? The keeper smiled. In a way. Oliver stepped closer. The warm light felt comforting, almost familiar, like sitting beside a fireplace on a winter evening. The keeper placed his lantern beside one of the glowing pathways. The world believes time is measured by clocks. His voice echoed gently through the chamber. But time has always been measured differently. Oliver listened carefully. The old man looked upward toward the giant mechanism. Moments of wonder. Moments of hope. Moments of imagination. The clock's golden hands continued their journey. Steady. Patient. The keeper's smile returned. Dreams give those moments life. The words settled quietly into the room. Oliver watched the streams of light. Millions of dreams flowing together, creating something greater. Something beautiful. Then he noticed something troubling. A section of the clock appeared dimmer than the rest. One cluster of gears moved more slowly. The golden glow there seemed weaker. Fainter. The keeper noticed his expression. You see it? Oliver nodded. What happened? For the first time, sadness touched the old man's eyes. The world is forgetting. The answer came softly, almost like a whisper. The clock still turns. It always will. But fewer dreams reach it now. The chamber grew quieter. The streams of light continued flowing overhead. Yet Oliver understood. People slept less, dreamed less, wondered less. Just as the keeper had said. The giant clock reflected it all. Not broken, but growing weaker. The old man placed a hand on the railing. For centuries, dreamers kept the balance. Artists, teachers, storytellers, children. His smile returned slightly. And bookshop owners. Oliver laughed quietly. The keeper winked. The tension eased. For a moment, they simply stood together, watching the endless river of dreams, watching the heartbeat clock, listening to its steady rhythm. Tick, tick. Then something unexpected happened. The toy boat inside Oliver's pocket grew warm. Very warm. He carefully removed it. The faded wooden boat glowed faintly with silver light. The moment it touched the air, the giant clock responded. A single gear brightened. Then another. Then another. Golden light spread through the dim section of the mechanism. The ticking grew stronger, clearer, healthier. Oliver stared in amazement. The keeper smiled knowingly. One remembered dream. His voice carried warmth. Can illuminate more darkness than people realize. The toy boat continued glowing softly. The forgotten dream of adventure. The dream of possibility. The dream of becoming. Even after all these years, it still carried power. Still carried light. Oliver looked toward the endless clock. Toward the flowing dreams. Toward the countless lives connected by invisible threads of hope. For the first time, he began to understand why he had been brought here. Not merely to observe. Not merely to learn. But perhaps to help. The keeper lifted his lantern.
Once more, its golden glow merged with the light of the chamber. Come, his voice was gentle. There is something else you must see. Far beyond the giant clock, hidden within the golden darkness, another doorway slowly appeared. Older, stranger, more mysterious than any before. And beyond it waited a place spoken of only in whispers, a place where stars came to rest when their stories were finished, a place known as the Garden of Silent Stars. The clock continued its steady heartbeat behind them. Dreams flowed endlessly through the air,
And somewhere beyond the doorway, another secret awaited. The giant clock continued its steady rhythm behind them. Tick, 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 like the heartbeat of a sleeping world. Its golden light stretched across the chamber as Oliver followed the keeper toward the newly revealed doorway. The ancient archway shimmered softly. Silver vines curled across its stone surface. Tiny stars appeared carved into every corner. Not sharp, not decorative, but worn smooth by countless years, as though many travelers had passed this way long before him. The keeper paused before the entrance. His lantern glowed warmly. The light reflected in his eyes. "Beyond this door," he said softly, "the stars come to rest." Oliver glanced toward the darkness beyond. "The stars?" The keeper smiled. "The stories they carry." Then he stepped forward, and together they crossed the threshold. The world changed instantly. The warm glow of the clock chamber disappeared behind them. A cool breeze touched Oliver's face. The scent of lavender and night-blooming flowers drifted through the air. And above him, an endless sky. Not a ceiling, not stone, a real sky. Vast and magnificent, filled with more stars than he had ever imagined possible. They stretched from horizon to horizon, bright rivers of light flowing across the heavens. The sight stole his breath. For several moments he could only stare. The keeper waited patiently, as though he had seen that reaction many times before. Eventually, Oliver lowered his gaze, and what he saw next was even more extraordinary. A garden, a massive garden, stretching farther than the eye could see. Silver grass swayed gently beneath moonlight. Crystal pathways wound between fields of glowing flowers. Ancient trees rose toward the stars. Their leaves shimmered like tiny pieces of moonlight. Soft lanterns floated through the air. Golden butterflies drifted lazily among the blossoms. Everything felt peaceful, perfectly peaceful, as though the entire garden had been designed for dreaming. "The Garden of Silent Stars," the keeper said. His voice seemed quieter here, more reverent. Oliver nodded slowly. The name felt right. The garden radiated a calm unlike anything he had ever experienced. Then he noticed them. Small lights, scattered throughout the garden. Thousands upon thousands of them, each resting among the flowers, each glowing softly, like tiny fallen stars. Oliver stepped closer to one. It sat beneath a silver tree, no larger than an apple. Its light pulsed gently, warm, steady, alive. "What are they?" he whispered. The keeper smiled softly. "Stories." Oliver looked back. The old man nodded. "Every star you see contains a story that once shined brightly." A gentle wind moved through the garden. The tiny lights flickered in response. Not randomly, almost as though they were listening, waiting, remembering. Oliver knelt beside the glowing star. Its silver light reflected in his eyes. Without thinking, he reached out. The moment his fingers touched it, a vision appeared. A young sailor stood aboard a wooden ship. The ocean stretched endlessly around him. Moonlight sparkled across the waves. The sailor gazed toward the horizon, dreaming of discovering lands no map had ever shown. Hope filled his eyes. Wonder filled his heart. Then the vision faded. The star returned to silence. Oliver sat back slowly. The memory had felt real, beautifully real. The keeper watched him. Every story contains a dream, a memory, a story. The old man's lantern cast warm light across the path. When a story changes a life, he looked upward. When it inspires courage, when it creates kindness, when it awakens wonder, a smile touched his face. The garden welcomes it. Oliver gazed across the endless landscape. Thousands of silent stars glowed among the flowers, each representing a life, a dream, a moment of wonder, preserved forever, not forgotten, not lost, protected. The realization filled him with quiet awe. The world suddenly felt much larger than before, and much more connected. A distant bell chimed somewhere within the garden, soft, melodic, like music carried on the wind.
The keeper began walking once more. Oliver followed. The crystal pathway curved between silver trees. Above them, stars shimmered gently. The silence felt alive, comforting, like the pause between pages of a beloved story. Soon they reached the center of the garden, and there stood the largest tree Oliver had ever seen. Its trunk was wider than a house. Its branches stretched toward the heavens. Silver leaves glittered beneath moonlight. Thousands of glowing stars rested among its roots. The entire tree radiated ancient wisdom, ancient peace. The keeper stopped. His lantern dimmed slightly, almost as though the tree needed no additional light. This is the heart tree. Oliver stared upward. Its branches disappeared among the stars. The sight felt impossibly beautiful. Then something happened. One of the stars beneath the tree brightened. Slowly, gently. Its silver grew stronger and stronger until it outshone every other light nearby. Oliver felt warmth spread through his chest. Recognition. The strange feeling returned. The feeling he had experienced before the Silver Book, before the lighthouse, before the Midnight Express, as though something ancient recognized him. The star lifted itself from the ground, floating quietly into the air. The keeper remained silent, watching, waiting. The star drifted closer. Its glow softened, almost affectionate. Then, Oliver heard a voice, not with his ears, inside his heart, a voice carried by memory, by dreams, by time itself. Oliver. He froze. The voice had spoken his name, softly, gently, like someone greeting an old friend. The star continued glowing, its silver light wrapped around him. The garden seemed to hold its breath. Every flower, every tree, every silent star, waiting. The voice came again. At last. Oliver's heart beat faster. "Who are you?" he whispered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the star brightened once more, and another vision appeared. Not a stranger, not a forgotten sailor, not someone else's memory. His own. A younger Oliver, perhaps 8 years old, sitting beneath a blanket fort, holding a flashlight, reading stories long after bedtime, eyes filled with wonder, dreaming impossible dreams, believing anything could happen. The vision limbered, then slowly faded. Oliver stood motionless. Emotion filled his chest. Warm, gentle, bittersweet. The keeper finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Some stars belong to forgotten stories. He looked toward the glowing light, and some belong to forgotten parts of ourselves. The star hovered quietly before Oliver, its silver glow steady and calm. The little boy from the memory, the dreamer, the believer, the storyteller, a version of himself he had not thought about in years, perhaps decades. Yet somehow, the star had remembered. The garden remained silent. The stars shimmered overhead, and beneath the endless night sky, Oliver realized that this journey was becoming something more than an adventure, more than a mystery. It was a return to wonder, a return to dreaming, a return to the person he had once been. The silver star drifted slowly upward, joining the branches of the heart tree, its light shining brighter than before. And somewhere beyond the garden, hidden beneath moonlight and time, another path was beginning to open, a path leading toward a place where forgotten hopes still waited, a place known as the Valley of Whispering Wishes. The keeper lifted his lantern. The stars above seemed to brighten, and together they continued deeper into the night, toward the next chapter of the dream. The garden of silent stars slowly faded behind them, its silver trees, its glowing flowers, its countless sleeping stories, all disappeared into a gentle veil of moonlit mist. Yet the feeling remained, the warmth of the star, the memory of the child he once was, the dreamer, the storyteller, the believer. As Oliver followed the keeper along a winding path, he found himself smiling without realizing it. Not because he understood everything, he didn't. There were still mysteries surrounding the lighthouse, still questions waiting in the darkness. Yet for the first time in many years, uncertainty no longer felt frightening. It felt beautiful, like the first page of a new story. The path gradually climbed higher. The air became cooler. Salt from the sea drifted upon the wind. Far below, waves rolled endlessly against unseen shores. The stars above remained brilliant, yet now clouds moved slowly across the sky, silver and soft, like drifting dreams. The keeper walked ahead, carrying his lantern. Its warm golden glow illuminated the path. Neither spoke. Words seemed unnecessary. The silence itself felt comforting. Eventually, the trail
emerged onto a vast plateau overlooking the ocean. Oliver stopped. The view stretched endlessly. Moonlit cliffs rose from the sea. White waves sparkled below. The horizon blended seamlessly into the sky, ocean and stars becoming one. And there, far in the distance, the lighthouse, closer than before.
Its ancient tower stood proudly against the night. Its beams swept across the darkness, slow, steady, faithful, like a promise. Oliver felt something stir within him. Soon, very soon, the journey would reach its destination. The keeper continued walking. The path curved along the cliff edge. Ancient stone markers appeared at regular intervals, each carved with stars and lanterns, each worn smooth by time. The wind whispered softly around them. Then, the ground trembled, only slightly, a gentle vibration beneath their feet. Oliver paused. The keeper smiled. "He's awake." Oliver frowned. "Who's awake?" The old man's smile widened. "You'll see." The ground trembled again, this time stronger. Not violent, not threatening, like the slow movement of something enormous, something ancient, something alive. The cliffs ahead disappeared into fog. Silver mist rolled across the path. The ocean seemed quieter suddenly. Even the wind softened. The world appeared to be waiting. Then a shape emerged. At first, Oliver thought it was part of the cliff itself, a massive stone formation, ancient and unmoving. But then it shifted, slowly, deliberately, and Oliver realized his mistake. The shape was alive, very much alive. A giant, a colossal figure rose from the mist, towering higher than any building Oliver had ever seen. Its body appeared carved from stone and earth. Ancient moss covered its shoulders. Silver flowers bloomed along its arms. Tiny trees grew from parts of its back. The giant moved with incredible slowness, every motion gentle, careful, as though afraid of disturbing the world around it. Its eyes opened. Soft golden light glowed within them. Warm, kind, wise. Oliver stood in complete amazement. The giant lowered itself carefully onto one knee. The cliffs trembled softly beneath its weight, yet not a single flower nearby was crushed, not a single stone disturbed. The enormous creature smiled, and somehow the smile felt familiar. The keeper raised his lantern. "Good evening, old friend." The giant's voice rumbled across the cliffs, deep, gentle, like distant thunder softened by rain. "Keeper." The word echoed warmly through the night. Oliver stood speechless. The giant looked toward him. Its golden eyes sparkled. "Is this the traveler?" The keeper nodded. "It is." The giant smiled wider, a surprisingly cheerful expression for something so enormous. "Welcome, Oliver." The sound of his name coming from a mountain-sized guardian felt strangely comforting. Not frightening, not overwhelming, simply kind. Oliver managed to smile. "Hello." The giant chuckled softly. The sound rolled across the ocean like a distant drum. For a moment, everyone remained silent. The stars shone overhead. The lighthouse glowed beyond the cliffs. The giant watched the sea, peacefully, thoughtfully. Finally, Oliver asked, "Who are you?" The giant's eyes reflected moonlight. "I have had many names." His voice remained gentle. "But dreamers once called me Brindle." The name felt old, ancient, like something from a forgotten legend. The giant slowly reached toward the ocean. A tiny seabird landed upon one enormous finger, completely unafraid. Brindle smiled. The bird chirped happily, then flew away. Oliver couldn't help smiling. The giant seemed incapable of causing fear. Everything about him radiated patience, warmth, protection. The keeper sat upon a nearby stone. "Brindle has watched these cliffs for a very long time." The giant nodded. "A very long time." Oliver believed it instantly. Brindle looked older than mountains, older than forests, perhaps older than memory of self. The giant's gaze drifted toward the lighthouse. Its being reflected softly in his eyes. "I remember when the first lantern was lit." Oliver blinked. "The first lantern." Brindle nodded. "Long before the village. Long before the railway. Long before Moon Hollow." The ocean breeze moved through the flowers growing across its shoulders. I watched the lighthouse rise. The realization settled over Oliver slowly. Brindle had witnessed centuries, perhaps millennia. Entire generations had come and gone beneath his watch, yet here he remained, protecting, watching, remembering. The giant sighed contentedly. The sound resembled a warm wind moving through ancient trees. The world changes. His eyes followed the horizon, but dreams remain. The keeper smiled. "That's why we still need you." Brindle laughed quietly. "And why the lighthouse still shines." For a while they sat together beneath the stars, watching the ocean, listening to the waves, the peaceful
Silence felt almost sacred. Then Brindle spoke again. This time his voice carried a hint of seriousness. "The traveler should know." The keeper looked up. Oliver listened carefully. Brindle's gaze remained fixed upon the lighthouse. There is a secret hidden inside. The ocean seemed quieter suddenly, the stars brighter. The giant's golden eyes reflected the distant beam. The Lantern of First Dreams. The words echoed softly through the night. Oliver felt curiosity stir immediately. The Lantern of First Dreams? Brindle nodded. The flowers upon his shoulders glowed faintly in the moonlight. It was lit before the lighthouse existed, before stories had names, before dreams were written down. The keeper remained silent, allowing Brindle to continue. The giant's expression softened. The lantern contains the very first dream. Oliver stared. The first dream? Brindle smiled. The first hope, the first wonder, the first possibility. His voice grew quieter. As long as it burns, the lighthouse shines, the clock turns, the library remembers, the garden blooms. The words settled across the cliffs like starlight. Beautiful, ancient, important. Then Brindle looked directly at Oliver, his golden eyes warm and gentle. But the lantern is growing weaker. A cold breeze moved across the plateau. The keeper lowered his gaze. For the first time, concern appeared in his expression. The giant sighed. The world is forgetting how to dream. Far away, the lighthouse beam continued sweeping across the darkness. Patient, faithful. Yet now Oliver understood. The danger wasn't immediate. The lantern wasn't dying, but it needed help. Just like the great clock below, just like the dreams drifting through the night. Brindle smiled once more. The warmth returned to his face. Fortunately, his eyes twinkled. The lighthouse chose well. Oliver blinked. What do you mean? The giant's enormous smile widened. The keeper laughed quietly. Neither answered, and somehow that answer felt even more mysterious. Above them, stars shimmered. Below, waves rolled endlessly against the shore. Ahead, the lighthouse waited, closer than ever. Its golden beams stretched across sea and sky, guiding them forward, toward the lantern of first dreams, toward the heart of the mystery, toward the next chapter waiting beyond the cliffs. And somewhere inside the ancient tower, a light older than memory itself continued to burn, waiting, watching, hoping, for the dreamer who had finally begun to remember how to dream again. The night grew deeper, yet somehow brighter. As Oliver and the keeper continued along the cliffs, the stars seemed closer than before, larger, warmer, almost as though the sky itself had begun leaning toward the earth. Behind them, Brindle remained upon the plateau, a silent guardian watching the sea. His enormous silhouette stood against the moonlit horizon, patient, steady, ancient. For a long time, Oliver walked without speaking. The giant's words echoed softly within him. The lantern of first dreams, the first hope, the first wonder, the first possibility. The idea felt impossibly large, and yet strangely comforting. The keeper seemed to sense his thoughts. You're wondering how a single dream could matter so much. Oliver nodded. The old man smiled. Most people do. The lantern in his hand cast golden circles of light across the path. Every great story begins with a single sentence. He looked toward the lighthouse. Every journey begins with a single step. The wind moved gently through the grass. And every future begins with a single dream. The answer settled quietly into the night. Simple, yet profound. The path curved around the cliffs. The ocean sparkled below. Moonlight danced across the waves. Everything felt peaceful. Then Oliver noticed something unusual. Lights. Hundreds of them, floating in the distance. At first, he thought they were stars, but they moved differently, slower, closer to the ground, like glowing fireflies drifting through the darkness. The keeper smiled. We're almost there. The lights multiplied as they approached. Dozens, hundreds, perhaps thousands. Golden lanterns floated gently above the cliffs, each carrying a warm, steady glow. They drifted upon invisible currents, silent, beautiful, mesmerizing. Oliver slowed his pace. The sight felt magical. The lanterns stretched across the landscape in every direction, like a river of stars flowing through the night. What are they? He whispered. The keeper's eyes reflected their golden light, the lanterns of returning hope. Oliver watched one drift past. Its warm glow illuminated the surrounding grass.
For a brief moment, he thought he heard laughter. Distant, faint, like an old memory carried by the wind. The keeper noticed. You heard it. Oliver nodded. The old man smiled. Each lantern carried
A hope. They continued walking among the floating lights. The lanterns moved slowly around them, almost as though they were alive, almost as though they recognized the keeper. "What kind of hopes?" Oliver asked. The keeper looked upward. A lantern passed overhead. Its golden glow flickered gently. "All kinds." His voice remained soft. "A hope to create. A hope to forgive. A hope to begin again." The lantern drifted higher, joining countless others. A hope to become. Oliver watched the lights moving through the darkness, each carrying something precious, something human, something beautiful. The realization filled him with wonder. The keeper stopped beside a stone overlook. Below, the sea stretched endlessly beneath the stars. The lanterns floated above it like golden constellations. For several moments, neither spoke. The scene felt too beautiful for words. Then the keeper gently lifted his own lantern. Its glow brightened. Immediately, several nearby lanterns responded. Their lights shimmered. Golden threads appeared between them, tiny streams of light connecting one lantern to another, then another, and another. Oliver stared at amazement. The entire sky seemed woven together by glowing pathways, like an enormous web of dreams. The keeper lowered his lantern. The golden threads remained visible. "If dreams connect people," he smiled softly, "hope helps them find one another." The words settled deeply within Oliver. He thought about the library, the garden, the giant clock, every place he had visited, every story he had witnessed. Everything connected. Everything mattered. Nothing truly lost. A gentle breeze moved across the cliffs. One lantern drifted toward them. Unlike the others, this one glowed silver instead of gold. It floated quietly before Oliver, waiting. The keeper remained silent, watching. The silver lantern hovered near his chest. Its light felt familiar, warm, inviting, almost like the star beneath the heart tree. Slowly, cautiously, Oliver reached forward. The moment his fingers touched the lantern, a vision appeared. A young woman sat beside a window. Rain tapped softly against the glass. An unfinished manuscript rested on her desk. Pages scattered everywhere. For a long time she stared at the blank page before her. Doubt clouded her expression. Fear. Uncertainty. Then something changed. She picked up her pen and began writing. The vision brightened. Months passed in moments. Pages multiplied. The story grew. Readers smiled. Readers cried. Readers dreamed. The woman's hope became reality. The vision faded. The silver lantern returned to silence. Oliver lowered his hand slowly. His heart felt strangely full. The keeper nodded. That hope found its way home. Oliver looked up. Home? The old man smiled. The lanterns return. He gestured toward the countless lights drifting through the darkness. When someone forgets a dream, when life becomes noisy, when wonder feels distant. His eyes reflected the golden sky. The lantern remembers. Oliver watched the lights, thousands upon thousands of hopes, patiently searching, patiently guiding, returning people to forgotten possibilities, returning dreamers to themselves. The beauty of it nearly took his breath away. Far ahead, the lighthouse appeared once more, closer than ever. Its stone tower rose above the cliffs, ancient, magnificent. Its beam swept slowly across the sea. The destination felt real now, very real. The keeper began walking again. Oliver followed. The lanterns drifted around them like silent companions. The path widened. The cliffs became gentler, the air warmer. Soon the first outer grounds of the lighthouse appeared. Stone walls, moonlit gardens, ancient pathways winding toward the tower. Everything bathed in silver light. The keeper stopped. His lantern glowed brighter. The floating lights overhead seemed to respond. Hundreds gathered above the lighthouse, swirling slowly around its tower, like stars protecting a sacred flame. For a moment, the entire world seemed still, perfectly still. The ocean paused. The wind softened. The lanterns hovered silently. Then somewhere deep within the lighthouse, a bell rang. One clear note. Ancient. Beautiful.
The keeper smiled. "It knows you're here." Oliver felt a shiver of wonder. The tower stood before him, closer than ever. Its windows glowed warmly. Its ancient stones reflected moonlight. And somewhere inside waited the lantern of first dreams. The oldest dream. The first hope. The first possibility. The heart of everything. The bell echoed once more. Softly. Patiently. As though inviting him forward. And above the tower, the lanterns of returning hope continued their endless journey through the stars, guiding dreamers home, one light at a time.
The bell's final note lingered in the night air. Soft, ancient, beautiful. For several moments after it faded, neither Oliver nor the keeper moved. The lighthouse stood before them, closer than ever. Its pale stone walls rose from the cliffs like a monument built from moonlight itself. Warm light glowed behind tall windows. The ancient tower seemed alive, not in the way people are alive, but in the way forests are alive, in the way oceans are alive, in the way stories somehow continue breathing long after they are told. Above, countless lanterns drifted through the sky, golden lights floating silently around the tower, returning hopes, forgotten dreams, quiet possibilities. The keeper gazed upward, his silver lantern glowing softly beside him. The lighthouse has waited a long time. Oliver looked toward the tower. For me? The old man smiled. For every dreamer. A gentle breeze moved through the gardens surrounding the lighthouse. Silver flowers swayed beneath the stars. Their petals shimmered faintly, almost as though they carried pieces of starlight within them. The path ahead curved through the grounds, yet something unusual caught Oliver's attention. Mist, silver mist, flowing across the landscape. Not thick, not obscuring, simply drifting, like ribbons of moonlight moving across the earth. The keeper noticed, before reaching the tower, there is one final path. Oliver followed his gaze. The silver fog stretched ahead between ancient stone markers. Each marker bore carvings of stars, books, lanterns, and crescent moons. The pathway seemed to disappear into the mist itself. The path through silver fog. The keeper's voice grew softer, more thoughtful. Oliver felt curiosity stir within him. What makes it special? For a moment, the old man remained silent. Then he answered, "It shows possibilities." The words hung gently in the air. Possibilities? The keeper nodded. Dreams are not only memories, they are futures. The lantern in his hand flickered warmly, some fulfilled, some forgotten, some waiting. Oliver stared at the fog. Its silver currents drifted slowly between the stones. The mist seemed almost alive, listening, watching, remembering. The keeper began walking. Oliver followed. Together they entered the fog. Immediately the world changed. The sounds of the ocean faded. The wind softened. Even the distant lanterns above seemed quieter. The mist surrounded them, cool, gentle, comforting. Not once did it feel frightening, only peaceful, as though the fog itself wished travelers to feel safe. The pathway wound forward, its stone surface glowing faintly beneath moonlight. For a while, nothing happened. Only silence accompanied them. Then Oliver noticed movement within the mist. A shape, faint at first, almost invisible, then clearer. The fog gathered, twisted, shifted, and formed a scene, a vision. Oliver stopped. Before him stood a small bookstore. Warm light glowed from its windows. Flower boxes decorated the entrance. Children sat reading on a nearby bench. Adults smiled as they entered and exited. The store felt familiar, very familiar. Then Oliver realized why. It was his bookshop, but different, larger, brighter, filled with life. The vision seemed real enough to touch. The keeper stood quietly beside him. "The future?" Oliver whispered. The old man smiled. One possibility. The vision shimmered. Children laughed. Stories changed hands. Dreams found new homes. Then slowly the scene dissolved, returning to silver fog. Oliver felt an unexpected warmth in his chest. Hope, the simple hope of what might be. The path continued. The mist drifted around them. Soon another vision appeared. This one showed a young woman sitting beneath a tree, writing. Books surrounded her. The expression on her face radiated joy. Beside her rested a familiar silver lantern.
The image lasted only moments before fading. Then came another, a father teaching his daughter to draw, a musician performing beneath the stars, an elderly man planting a garden, a traveler boarding a train. Each vision brief, each carrying quiet beauty, none grand, none dramatic, simply lives touched by dreams, lives shaped by hope, lives illuminated by possibility. The keeper watched each one with a gentle smile. The world often measures success incorrectly. His voice echoed softly through the fog. Oliver listened. The old man touched one of the stone markers. Its carved star glowed faintly. People search for greatness. He looked toward the fading vision of the father and daughter, when wonder was always enough. The words settled deep within Oliver. The fog continued flowing. The path curved gently upward, and suddenly a new vision appeared, stronger than the others, clearer, more vivid. Oliver stopped immediately. His breath caught. The scene shook.
Himself, older, standing inside the lighthouse. Books surrounded him. Children listened as he read aloud. Adults sat nearby, smiling, dreaming. The room glowed with warm golden light. The image felt different, not distant, not impossible, achievable. The keeper remained silent, allowing Oliver to absorb the vision. For several moments, the future version of himself continued reading, sharing stories, sharing wonder, sharing dreams. Then the vision slowly faded, returning once more to mist. Oliver stared at the empty air. His heart felt strangely full. The keeper's eyes sparkled kindly. Interesting. Oliver laughed softly. You saw it too? The old man nodded. I did. The fog swirled around them. The path stretched onward. Yet something inside Oliver had shifted. The future no longer felt like a mystery to fear. It felt like a story still being written. A story filled with possibilities, filled with wonder, filled with choices. The mist gradually began thinning. The lighthouse tower emerged ahead, larger than ever, closer than ever. Its windows shone like golden stars. The silver fog drifted aside, revealing an ancient stone courtyard. At its center stood a single fountain. Moonlight reflected from its waters, and beside the fountain waited something unexpected. A door, not attached to any wall, not connected to any building, simply standing alone beneath the stars. Ancient, wooden, covered in carvings. The keeper stopped. His lantern glowed brighter. The smile upon his face carried both excitement and reverence. We've arrived. Oliver stared at the mysterious door. The air around it shimmered faintly, as though countless dreams had passed through it. What is it? He whispered. The keeper looked toward the lighthouse, then back toward the door. His answer came softly. The entrance to the house of warm windows. A breeze moved through the courtyard. The fountain sparkled. The lighthouse bell rang once more, and somewhere beyond the impossible door waited another secret, another story, another piece of the dream, waiting patiently to be discovered. The impossible door stood quietly beneath the stars, alone, unattached, waiting. Its weathered wood glowed softly in the moonlight. Thousands of tiny carvings covered its surface. Stars, lanterns, books, trees, dreams frozen in wood by hands long forgotten. The lighthouse tower rose silently beyond it, ancient and watchful. The keeper approached the door slowly. His lantern illuminated the carvings. Golden light danced across the old wood. For a moment, neither he nor Oliver spoke. The courtyard felt unusually still. Even the breeze seemed reluctant to disturb the silence. Finally, the keeper reached for the handle. This place exists between dreams. His voice carried a quiet reverence. Between memories, between possibilities. The brass handle turned. The door opened inward. Warm light spilled into the courtyard. Immediately, Oliver smelled something comforting. Fresh bread, cinnamon, tea. Rain on old rooftops. Firewood burning gently in a distant hearth. The scents felt familiar. Not because he recognized them, because they reminded him of home. The keeper smiled. Come. Oliver stepped forward and crossed the threshold. Warmth greeted him instantly. The difference was remarkable. One moment he stood beneath the stars. The next he stood inside a cozy house glowing with golden light. The transition felt seamless, natural, as though he had simply walked from one room into another. The house stretched farther than seemed possible. Hallways curved gently into the distance. Wooden staircases climbed toward unseen floors. Soft carpets covered polished floors. Lanterns glowed warmly overhead. Everywhere Oliver looked, windows lined the walls, hundreds, perhaps thousands, each window shining with its own gentle light. The keeper closed the door behind them. The sound echoed softly through the house. Welcome, he said, to the house of warm windows. Oliver slowly turned. The entire place felt alive. Not alive like a person,
alive like a memory, alive like a favorite story revisited after many years. The atmosphere wrapped around him like a blanket, comfortable, safe, peaceful. Then he noticed something unusual. The windows. None showed the outside world. No gardens, no stars, no cliffs, no lighthouse. Instead, every window revealed a different scene. Different people, different lives, different stories. Oliver approached the nearest one. Inside, a young boy sat in a hospital room. Rain tapped gently against the glass beside him. The boy looked tired, lonely, a little frightened. Then the door opened. A nurse entered carrying a stack of books. She smiled warmly. The boy's face brightened instantly. The scene glowed softly, warmly, then faded. Another window illuminated. This time, an elderly woman sat alone in a small apartment. Snow fell outside.
The room seemed quiet, yet suddenly the telephone rang. Her eyes widened. She answered, and moments later, she laughed. A joyful laugh, the kind that fills an entire room. The image shimmered, then softened into golden light. Oliver stared. Each window contained a moment, not a grand achievement, not a historical event, a simple moment of kindness, connection, hope. The keeper walked beside him. Every window remembers a light. Oliver glanced toward him. A light. The old man nodded. A moment when one person helped another. A moment when hope returned. A moment when kindness changed a life. The words echoed gently through the hallway. Oliver continued walking. Window after window revealed beautiful scenes. A teacher encouraging a struggling student. A stranger helping someone find their way home. A child sharing an umbrella. A musician playing for an audience of one. Tiny moments, simple moments. Yet somehow they felt enormous, important. The house seemed to treasure them, protect them, remember them, as though kindness itself possessed a lasting light. Eventually, they reached a grand circular room. The ceiling soared overhead. Wooden beams curved gracefully above them. Thousands of windows surrounded the chamber. Their golden light illuminated everything. At the center stood a fireplace, a magnificent hearth large enough to warm an entire village. Flames danced gently within it, golden, silver, blue. The fire burned silently, peacefully. Oliver approached. Its warmth felt unlike ordinary warmth. Not physical, emotional, comforting. The kind of warmth found in treasured memories. The keeper stood beside the hearth. The fire never goes out. Oliver watched the flames. Why? The old man smiled. Because kindness never truly disappears. The answer settled quietly into the room. The flames flickered, the windows glowed, and suddenly Oliver understood. The library preserved dreams, the garden preserved stories, the clock preserved wonder, and this place, this house, preserved hope shared between people, the invisible moments that changed lives, the moments many forgot, but which mattered deeply. A gentle crackling sound emerged from the fireplace. Something shimmered within the flames. A shape, a memory. Slowly it became clear. Oliver gasped softly. The fire showed a little boy sitting beneath a blanket fort, reading by flashlight, eyes wide with wonder. Books scattered around him. The same memory he had seen beneath the heart tree. The younger version of himself. The dreamer, the storyteller, the believer. But this time the vision continued. The boy finished his book, then carefully carried it into another room. A younger girl sat there, his sister, his cousin, a friend. The memory wasn't perfectly clear, yet Oliver watched as the boy handed her the book, excitedly, eagerly, wanting to share the story. Moments later, she smiled. Her eyes filled with wonder, too. The memory faded, returning to flames. Oliver remained motionless. The keeper's voice came softly. "Do you understand now?" Oliver swallowed. A lump had formed in his throat. "I think so." The old man nodded. "Stories create wonder. Wonder creates hope. Hope creates light." The fire glowed brighter. The windows shimmered. And somewhere deep within the house, a bell chimed softly. The sound drifted through distant hallways. Ancient, beautiful, calling. The keeper looked toward a staircase spiraling upward. Its steps disappeared into golden light. His expression grew thoughtful, almost solemn. "We're close." Oliver followed his gaze. A strange mixture of excitement and anticipation filled him. The journey had carried him through dreams, through memories, through stars, through hope, and yet the greatest mystery still waited ahead.
the lantern of first dreams, the heart of the lighthouse, the source of everything. The keeper lifted his lantern. Its glow merged with the firelight. "Come." His voice was gentle. "The tower is ready." The staircase shimmered softly. The windows glowed brighter. The ancient house seemed to sigh contentedly around them. And high above, somewhere beyond countless steps, a light older than time continued burning, waiting patiently for the dreamer who had nearly reached its door. The spiral staircase seemed endless. Step after step rose into golden light. Its ancient wooden steps curved gently upward through the heart of the lighthouse. Below, the house of warm windows slowly disappeared from sight, its glowing hearth, its countless memories, its comforting warmth, all fading into a distant golden glow. Yet Oliver carried the feeling with him, the feeling of kindness, the feeling of wonder, the feeling that every small act of hope mattered more than most people realized. The keeper climbed beside him. His lantern illuminated the staircase. Soft shadows danced along the walls. Neither
Spoke. Words felt unnecessary now. The journey itself seemed to be speaking. Each step felt meaningful. Each step brought Oliver closer to something ancient, something sacred, something waiting. The higher they climbed, the quieter the world became. The ocean disappeared. The wind faded. Even the distant ticking of the great clock could no longer be heard. Only silence remained. A peaceful silence. The kind found in libraries at midnight, or beneath snowfall, or inside dreams just before waking. The staircase continued upward. Golden light grew brighter, warmer, more inviting. Then, finally, the stairs ended. A single doorway stood ahead. Simple, elegant, its frame carved from silver wood. Stars shimmered faintly across its surface. No lock, no handle, only a symbol, a lantern surrounded by countless tiny stars. The keeper stopped. His expression carried both joy and reverence. For a moment, he simply gazed at the door, like an old friend or a beloved memory. Then he turned toward Oliver. His eyes reflected the golden light. "Beyond this door lies the beginning." Oliver frowned slightly. "The beginning?" The keeper nodded. "The first dream." The answer sent a quiet shiver through him. The old man smiled, then stepped aside. The gesture was simple, yet meaningful. This part of the journey belonged to Oliver, not the keeper, not the lighthouse, not anyone else, only him. Oliver approached slowly. The air felt different here, warmer, lighter, almost alive. His heart beat softly, steadily, not from fear, from wonder. The symbol upon the door glowed faintly, as though recognizing him, welcoming him, waiting. Slowly, Oliver placed his hand against the silver wood. The door opened instantly, without sound, without resistance, and golden light flooded outward. The chamber beyond was breathtaking. It was not large, not enormous like the library, not vast like the garden. Instead, it felt intimate, peaceful, perfect. The room was circular, its walls made entirely of crystal. Above, the night sky stretched endlessly. Stars shimmered beyond the transparent ceiling. Galaxies drifted slowly overhead. The universe itself seemed visible from here. Yet all of it faded into the background, because at the center of the chamber stood a lantern, a single lantern, resting upon a stone pedestal. Its design was simple, ancient, beautiful. Silver metal curved gracefully around crystal glass. Inside burned a golden flame, small, steady, perfect. The lantern of first dreams. Oliver immediately understood, not because anyone told him, because something deep within him recognized it. The flame flickered gently. Its light filled the chamber. Warm, comforting, timeless. The keeper entered quietly behind him. Even he seemed humbled by its presence. For several moments, neither spoke. The lantern required no explanation, no introduction. Its existence alone felt meaningful, powerful, sacred. Oliver stepped closer. The golden flame danced softly behind crystal glass. Not once did it flare wildly. Not once did it diminish. It simply burned, patiently, faithfully, like a promise kept for countless ages. Then something extraordinary happened. The flame brightened, only slightly, yet enough to transform the room. Golden light spread across the crystal walls, across the ceiling, across the stars above. The entire chamber glowed, and within the light, images appeared. Not visions, not memories, something older. The first dream. Oliver watched. A child stood beneath an ancient sky. Not a king, not a hero, not a famous figure.
Simply a child. Small, curious, wonder-filled. The child gazed upward at the stars. Millions of stars. The same stars shining above the lighthouse now. The child stared for a long time, then asked a question. A simple question. The first question. What if? The words echoed softly through the chamber. What if? What if there is more? What if tomorrow is different? What if I can reach those stars? What if impossible things become possible? The vision shimmered. The child continued staring upward, dreaming, wondering, imagining. And from that single question, the first dream was born. The image faded. The lantern returned to its quiet glow. Oliver stood motionless. The realization settled deeply within him. The first dream had not been power, or wealth, or conquest. It had been curiosity, wonder, possibility. A simple question. What if? The keeper's voice emerged softly. Every dream begins there. Oliver nodded, unable to speak. The flame reflected in his eyes. The room remained silent, peaceful. Then the keeper approached the lantern. His expression grew thoughtful, almost sad. For the first time, Oliver noticed something troubling. The flame. It was beautiful, but smaller than before. Not weak, yet not as bright.
It should have been. The keeper noticed his gaze. The world is changing. His voice carried gentle sorrow. People still dream. He smiled softly. They always will. The flame flickered, warm and steady. But fewer people wonder. The words hung in the air. The stars above shimmered quietly. The old man touched the edge of the pedestal. Wonder feeds the flame. Curiosity strengthens it. Stories protect it. Oliver looked at the lantern, then toward the universe visible beyond the crystal ceiling. The countless stars, the endless possibilities, the infinite unknown. And suddenly he understood. The lighthouse wasn't preserving dreams because dreams were fragile. It preserved dreams because they were precious, the most precious thing people possessed. The ability to imagine something beyond what already existed. The ability to ask, what if? The flame brightened slightly, as though responding to the thought. The keeper smiled. Exactly. Oliver blinked. You knew what I was thinking? The old man laughed quietly. No, his eyes twinkled. But the lantern did. Together they stood before the ancient flame, watching it dance, watching it glow, watching it remember. Then something unexpected happened. The toy boat inside Oliver's pocket began glowing, the same tiny boat from the shore of remembering. Its silver light grew brighter and brighter, until the entire chamber reflected its glow. The lantern of first dreams responded instantly. The flame surged. Golden light filled the room. The stars overhead brightened. The crystal walls shimmered. The lighthouse itself seemed to awaken. Far below, bells rang softly. The library glowed. The clock strengthened. The garden shimmered. Every dream within Moon Hollow responded. The keeper's eyes widened, not with fear, with joy. The lantern burned brighter than it had in centuries. And for the first time, Oliver understood why he had been chosen. Not because he was special, not because he possessed some hidden power, but because he remembered. He remembered stories. He remembered wonder. He remembered how to dream. The golden light continued spreading outward, beyond the lighthouse, beyond Moon Hollow, beyond the sea, across the sleeping world, touching dreamers everywhere, quietly, gently, like the turning of a page, like the beginning of a story, like the whisper of a possibility waiting to be born. And above them, the stars seemed brighter than ever before, as though the universe itself had remembered something important, something beautiful, something ancient, the first dream. And somewhere deep within the flame, a new chapter was beginning. The golden light continued expanding through the chamber, soft, warm, endless. The lantern of first dreams burned brighter than ever. Its flame danced behind crystal glass, not wildly, not uncontrollably, but with a quiet confidence, as though it had remembered something important, something it had been waiting centuries to remember. Oliver stood beside the keeper. The toy boat still glowed faintly within his hands. Its silver light merged with the lantern's golden flame. Together they filled the room with a gentle radiance.
Above them, stars shimmered through the crystal ceiling, millions upon millions, each one bright, each one beautiful. Yet something unusual was happening. The stars were moving, slowly, gracefully, almost as though they were gathering, drawing closer together, forming a pattern the keeper noticed first. His expression changed. A look of wonder crossed his face. Even after all these years, the sight seemed to surprise him. "The door," he whispered. Oliver followed his gaze. The stars overhead continued shifting. Ancient constellations drifted across the heavens. Galaxies rotated. Silver pathways appeared between distant lights. The entire universe seemed to be rearranging itself. Then, a single star brightened. Then another. Then another. Soon hundreds glowed brighter than the rest. Their light connected, creating a vast circle in the sky. Golden threads stretched between them. A symbol emerged, a lantern surrounded by countless stars. The same symbol carved upon the chamber door. The same symbol carried throughout Moon Hollow. The same symbol hidden within dreams. The room trembled softly, not with danger, with anticipation. A low hum filled the air, ancient, gentle, beautiful. Then the crystal ceiling slowly began to disappear. Not break, not shatter, simply fade, like mist beneath sunlight, like a dream dissolving into morning. Beyond it lay something impossible. A doorway, floating among the stars, its frame woven from silver light, its edges formed from constellations, its center filled with golden mist. The sight stole Oliver's breath. The keeper stared upward, silent, reverent. For several moments, neither spoke. Finally, Oliver whispered, "What is it?" The keeper's answer came softly. "The room
Beyond the stars." The words seemed older than language itself, older than stories, older than dreams. Oliver looked toward him. The old man's eyes reflected galaxies. "It is the oldest place, the first place, the place where dreams begin." The lantern brightened once more. Golden light poured into the celestial doorway. The mist within it swirled gently, inviting, welcoming, calling. The keeper smiled. "I've waited a long time to see it again." Together they stepped forward. The chamber faded behind them. The lighthouse disappeared. The stars expanded around them. The doorway grew larger, closer, brighter. And then they crossed the threshold. Silence. Not ordinary silence, not the absence of sound. A deeper silence, a peaceful silence. The kind that exists before music begins. The kind that exists before a story is written. The kind that exists before a dream is dreamed. Oliver slowly opened his eyes and gasped. The room beyond the stars stretched endlessly in every direction. No walls, no ceiling, no floor. Only light, soft golden light. Silver rivers flowed through the air. Constellations drifted like leaves upon invisible currents. Nebulas bloomed like flowers. Entire galaxies floated peacefully in the distance. Yet none of it felt cold. None of it felt empty. The place radiated warmth, comfort, belonging, as though every beautiful thing in existence had originated here. The keeper stood nearby. His lantern no longer glowed. It didn't need to. Everything around them already shone. The old man smiled. "Welcome." Oliver looked around slowly. The room seemed alive, not in a physical sense, more like a living thought, a living possibility. Then he noticed something extraordinary. Small lights floated throughout the vast space, thousands of them, perhaps millions. Tiny sparks, each no larger than a firefly. Golden, silver, blue, white. They drifted peacefully through the air, moving gently around one another, like stars before birth. "What are they?" Oliver asked. The keeper's smile softened. "Dreams."
Oliver stared. The tiny lights continued drifting. Beautiful, endless, peaceful. The old man nodded. Not remembered dreams, not forgotten dreams. His eyes sparkled. Future dreams. The realization settled over Oliver. These dreams had not happened yet. They belonged to tomorrow, to next year, to future generations, to people not yet born. Every possibility, every invention, every story, every act of kindness, every piece of wonder, waiting patiently to enter the world. A silver spark drifted near Oliver. It hovered before him, curious, almost playful. The moment it touched his hand, a vision appeared. A little girl sat beneath a tree, drawing stars in a notebook. One day she would become an astronomer. One day she would inspire millions. Yet right now, she didn't even know it. The vision faded. The spark continued drifting, returning to the endless sea of possibilities. Oliver felt awe wash through him. Every dream began here. Every future possibility. Every act of imagination. Every moment of wonder. The room beyond the stars held them all. Safe. Waiting. The keeper walked slowly through the golden light. The sparks gathered around him, like old friends. Most people never see this place. His voice echoed gently. But every dreamer visits. Oliver frowned slightly. In their sleep? The old man smiled. In their wonder. The answer felt perfect. The room itself seemed to agree. The golden light brightened. The sparks shimmered. The silver rivers flowed peacefully through the stars. Then something unexpected happened. A single spark emerged from the distance. Unlike the others, brighter, older. Its light pulsed gently, steadily, like a heartbeat. The moment Oliver saw it, he felt recognition. The same feeling he had experienced at the heart tree. The same feeling he had felt before the lantern of first dreams. The spark drifted closer, closer, until it hovered before him. The keeper watched silently, his expression thoughtful. The spark glowed warmly. Then a voice emerged. Soft, gentle, ancient. Welcome back. Oliver froze. The voice felt familiar. Not from memory. From somewhere deeper. Somewhere older. The spark brightened. And suddenly he understood. Every dream. Every story. Every possibility. Every question. Every moment of wonder had always been connected. Not separate. Not isolated. Part of something greater. Part of an endless story still being written. The spark circled him once, then drifted upward, joining countless others, returning to the sea of future dreams. The room beyond the stars remained silent, peaceful, infinite. And somewhere within its endless light, Oliver sensed another mystery waiting. A final mystery. One hidden at the very center of all dreams. The keeper followed his gaze
and smiled. Far beyond the rivers of light, beyond the floating galaxies, beyond the endless sparks of possibility. A distant tree glowed upon the horizon, a tree made entirely of starlight. Its branches touched eternity, its roots disappeared into forever. And beneath that impossible tree waited the final chapter of the journey, the place where every dream eventually returned, the place known only as the Tree of Endless Tomorrows. The golden light shimmered softly, the future sparkled around them, and together they began walking toward the heart of wonder itself. The tree stood at the edge of forever. Its branches stretched beyond sight, beyond stars, beyond galaxies, beyond even the imagination of those who dreamed beneath them. From where Oliver stood,
It appeared both impossibly distant and strangely near, like a memory waiting to be remembered, like a story waiting to be told. The room beyond the stars glowed softly around them. Silver rivers flowed through endless light. Future dreams drifted peacefully overhead. Tiny sparks of possibility moved like fireflies through eternity. And there, at the center of it all, stood the tree of endless tomorrows. The keeper walked quietly beside Oliver. Neither hurried. This was not a destination that could be rushed. Some places reveal themselves only to patience, only to wonder, only to dreamers. With each step, the tree seemed to grow larger. Its trunk shimmered with starlight. Its bark appeared woven from countless stories. Its leaves glowed silver, gold, and deep sapphire blue. Entire constellations rested among its branches. Stars bloomed from its limbs like flowers. The sight was so beautiful that Oliver forgot to speak, forgot to think, forgot everything except wonder. Eventually, they reached its roots. Massive roots stretched across the glowing landscape, each one larger than rivers. Yet they appeared gentle, protective, ancient. The roots disappeared into golden light below, as though anchoring the entire universe. Oliver slowly placed a hand upon the bark. Warmth flowed through him instantly. Not heat, memory, connection, belonging. The sensation felt impossible to describe, like hearing every lullaby ever sung, like reading every story ever written, like being welcomed home by something that had always known your name. The keeper smiled. It remembers everyone. Oliver looked up. The tree? The old man nodded. It remembers every dream. The leaves shimmered softly overhead. Silver light drifted downward like snow. The tree hummed gently, a sound older than music, older than language, older than time. Then Oliver noticed something extraordinary. The leaves. Every leaf contained an image. Tiny scenes glimmered within them. Lives, moments, stories, dreams. A child building a castle from blankets. An artist painting through the night. A grandmother reading bedtime stories. A teacher encouraging a student. A traveler watching sunrise from a distant shore. Millions upon millions of lives, each represented by a single glowing leaf. The realization left him speechless. The keeper's voice remained soft. Every dream that enters the world eventually returns here. Oliver stared upward. The branches seem endless, infinite, yet somehow intimate. Every dream mattered. Every hope mattered. Every story mattered. Nothing was forgotten. Nothing was lost. The tree remembered all of it. A gentle breeze moved through the branches. Thousands of leaves shimmered. The sound resembled distant laughter, distant music, distant memories. Then the breeze carried something else. A whisper. One whisper. Then another. Then countless more. The voices were soft, peaceful, not frightening, not overwhelming, simply present. The voices of dreamers. Past, present, future. All connected. All part of something larger. Oliver listened carefully. A little girl whispering about becoming an explorer. A young boy imagining impossible inventions. An elderly woman hoping for one more spring. A musician dreaming of a song. A storyteller dreaming of stories. The voices blended together, creating a gentle harmony. A lullaby sung by generations. The keeper closed his eyes, smiling. The universe speaks through dreams. The words floated into the starlight. Oliver felt emotion rising within him. Not sadness, not happiness, something deeper. Gratitude, wonder, a profound appreciation for being part of something so beautiful. Then the tree brightened. Its branches shimmered. Its roots glowed. Its leaves sparkled like stars. The entire universe seemed to respond. The silver rivers paused. The future dreams drifted closer. The room beyond the stars grew brighter, as though everything were gathering, listening, waiting. At the center of the tree's trunk, a doorway appeared. Not carved, not built, simply revealed. Golden light flowed from within. The keeper's smile widened. It wishes to show you. Oliver approached slowly. His heartbeat echoed
Softly in his chest, the doorway radiated warmth, comfort, peace. The feeling of standing at the final page of a beloved book. Not because the story was ending, because it was becoming something more. He stepped through. Inside waited a single room. Small, simple, perfect. A wooden chair sat beside a window.
A fireplace glowed gently. Books lined the walls. Moonlight spilled across the floor. The room felt familiar, deeply familiar. Then Oliver realized why. It was his dream room, not a memory, not a future, a reflection of his heart, the place where his deepest wonder lived. Every dreamer, he somehow knew, would see a different room, a different reflection, a different truth. Upon a small wooden table rested a book. Its cover shimmered softly, silver and gold. Oliver approached. The title slowly appeared. The story still being written. His breath caught. Carefully he opened it. The pages contained moments from his life. His childhood, his bookstore, the Midnight Express, Moon Hollow, the Keeper, Brindle, the library, the garden, the lighthouse. Every step of the journey, every page glowing softly. Then he reached the final chapter. The pages were blank, completely blank. Oliver looked toward the Keeper. The old man stood in the doorway, smiling gently. The future always is. The answer settled quietly into the room. Oliver looked back at the empty pages and suddenly understood. That was the secret. Not hidden treasure, not ancient power, not some forgotten prophecy. The secret was possibility. The future remained unwritten. Dreams were not instructions. They were invitations. Wonder was not the destination. Wonder was the beginning. The tree glowed brightly outside the window. The stars shimmered. The universe seemed to breathe. And for the first time, Oliver fully understood the first dream, the question that had begun everything, the question that still powered the lantern, the question hidden within every story, every hope, every possibility. What if? The blank pages shimmered softly, waiting, patiently, for whatever came next. The Keeper stepped forward. His lantern glowed warmly once more, not because darkness had returned, but because every journey needs a light, even after it ends, especially after it ends. Oliver closed the book gently. The room remained peaceful. The fire crackled softly. The stars shone beyond the window. And somewhere far below, in the sleeping world, countless dreamers drifted peacefully through the night, dreaming, wondering, imagining, keeping the lantern alive, one dream at a time. The tree of endless tomorrows stood watch over them all. The lighthouse continued shining across eternity, and the story, like every good story, was only just beginning. The room remained quiet, peacefully quiet. The fire crackled softly within the stone hearth. Golden light danced across shelves lined with books. Moonlight spilled through the window. Beyond it, the tree of endless tomorrows shimmered beneath a sky filled with stars. Oliver sat holding the book, the story still being written. The final pages remained blank, waiting, patient, full of possibility. For a long time he simply stared at them, not because he didn't know what came next, because he finally understood that no one ever truly knows. That was the gift. That was the wonder. The future was not meant to be read. It was meant to be lived. The Keeper stood quietly nearby. His lantern glowed softly. Its warm light seemed smaller now, not because it was fading, because Oliver had found a light of his own. The old man smiled. You understand. It wasn't a question. Oliver nodded. Slowly, thoughtfully. I think I do. The fire crackled gently. Outside, silver leaves drifted from the branches of the great tree. The stars sparkled like distant memories. The Keeper walked toward the window. His eyes reflected eternity. The lighthouse was never built to protect dreams. Oliver looked up. The statement surprised him. The old man smiled. It was built to remind people they still have them. The words settled quietly into the room. Simple, beautiful, true. For a moment, neither spoke. The universe seemed to breathe around them. Then the Keeper turned, and for the first time since their journey began, Oliver noticed something different. The old man appeared younger. Not physically. Something deeper, brighter, lighter, as though a burden carried for centuries had finally eased. The keeper looked toward the blank pages. The story belongs to you now. Oliver followed his gaze. The book shimmered softly. The empty pages glowed with possibility. He smiled and gently closed the cover. The moment he did, the room brightened.
The fireplace dissolved into golden sparks. The shelves faded into silver light. The window transformed into starlight. Everything began dissolving, not disappearing, returning to where it belonged. The tree glowed brilliantly outside. The room beyond the stars shimmered. Future dreams drifted like fireflies. The lantern of first dreams burned brightly. The lighthouse stood proud against eternity. The library remembered. The clock turned. The garden bloomed. The house of warm windows glowed. Every place, every dream, every story connected. A single heartbeat echoed through the stars, then another, tick, tick, tick. The sound felt familiar. The great clock, the heartbeat of wonder itself. The rhythm grew softer, more distant. The golden light expanded. The stars blurred. The universe faded gently around him. And then, morning arrived. Birdsong, warm sunlight, the scent of books. Oliver opened his eyes, slowly, sleepily, comfortably. He blinked, once, twice. His small apartment sat exactly as he remembered. Morning light streamed through the window. Dust danced in golden beams. The familiar ticking of a clock echoed softly nearby. Everything appeared ordinary, perfectly ordinary. For several moments he remained still, listening. Birds outside, a distant bicycle bell, the quiet sounds of a waking world. Had it been a dream? The thought lingered. Yet somehow he already knew the answer. Yes and no. The memory felt too real, too vivid, too meaningful. He sat up slowly. The morning felt different somehow, brighter, warmer, full of possibility, as though the world itself had quietly changed overnight. Then something caught his eye, resting on his bedside table, a small object. Oliver stared. His heart skipped a beat. The wooden toy boat, the same tiny boat from the shore of remembering, the same boat that had brightened the lantern, the same boat he had carried through Moon Hollow. Its faded paint glowed softly beneath the sunlight. Proof. Not proof that the dream happened. Proof that wonder had. Oliver smiled, a genuine smile, the kind that begins quietly, then spreads, then stays. He carefully picked up the boat. Warmth flowed through his fingers. Not magic, memory, hope, wonder. The simple reminder that dreams matter. Outside, the city continued waking. People hurried to work. Children walked to school. Shops opened. Cars passed. Life moved forward. Yet Oliver saw something new. Possibility. Every stranger carried a story. Every child carried a dream. Every ordinary moment carried hidden wonder. The lighthouse had taught him that, or perhaps it had only reminded him. He dressed quickly. A feeling of excitement stirred inside him, not because of some grand adventure, not because of some mysterious quest, because today existed, because tomorrow existed, because stories still existed. The bookstore awaited, readers awaited, dreamers awaited, and somewhere out there, someone needed a story. Someone needed wonder. Someone needed hope. Oliver slipped the toy boat into his pocket, then headed downstairs. The morning sun warmed the streets. The sky stretched bright and blue above the city. For a moment, he paused outside his bookstore. The sign swung gently in the breeze. Books filled the display window. Stories waited patiently on every shelf. A little girl stood nearby holding her father's hand. She stared through the glass, eyes wide with curiosity, wonder, possibility. Oliver smiled, then opened the door. A small bell chimed overhead. The same sound, the very same sound, as the bell that had greeted him in Moon Hollow. The little girl looked up. Her eyes sparkled. Are there adventure stories inside? Oliver laughed softly. The question felt familiar.
Ancient, timeless, the first dream, the first wonder, the first possibility. What if? He opened the door wider. Thousands. The girl's face lit up, and together they stepped inside. Far away, beyond the waking world, beyond memory, beyond dreams, the lighthouse continued shining. Its golden beam swept across endless seas of stars. The lantern of first dreams burned brighter than ever. The keeper smiled. Brindle watched the horizon. The library remembered. The garden bloomed. The clock turned. And beneath the tree of endless tomorrows, countless future dreams waited patiently, ready, hopeful, bright, for every dreamer who dared to wonder, for every storyteller who dared to imagine, for every heart brave enough to ask the question that had begun it all. What if? The stars shimmered, the lantern glowed, the story continued, and somewhere, very peacefully, another dream began. Moon, sun, the sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead, and together they stepped inside. Oliver continued to wonder. The sound of the bell chimed overhead.